Hi, this is movie number 2 for Access Chapter 2, Pause and Practice number 1. We're on page A2-88, and we left off in the last movie on step 5. So we created a new database. We worked on a table in Design View by putting in the fields, changing their data types. But now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the properties for all the fields. So the first thing that we want to do is for the equipment ID field, we want to make that property of field size 5. So what we're saying is the maximum length that equipment ID can be is 5. So then in the required, so there's all of these different fields. Formatting, input mask, we're going to look at that. Caption, default value, if you want to pre-populate it with something, validation rules and text. And here's the one we want, required. And so it's currently set to yes because it is a primary key. A primary key is always required, so we don't have to change that. Now we can go up to product name, and then we're going to come back down here and change it. Product name is going to be 45. And then in the format, we're going to do this, I'm going to just type it in, then we can talk about it. So I do a greater than sign, and then inside of square brackets, and you're going to find the square brackets have a lot of different meanings in Access. In this particular case, I include a color in between the square brackets. When I'm on the field property format, it changes the text within that field to the color defined. And so you can use like the basic colors, black, blue, red, orange, yellow, those type of colors. The greater than sign changes the case of the field to all uppercase. If I had done a less than sign, it would have changed everything to lowercase. So for example, the state. If somebody would type in O, capital O, little h, but you're making mailing addresses, the post office likes it to be OH, everybody out there shouting IO, but to be uppercase, right? So you could do the greater than sign, and it would, no matter what anybody typed in, it would change it to uppercase. So this one we're saying we want it to be uppercase and blue. Let's go to category. In category, we want to change the field size to 30. And then date purchased, because right now we're not doing anything with currency. And one of the things we could change there would be to change and make it like 0 decimals, but we're going to leave it auto, so it has pennies in it. For date purchased, notice there's no field size because once again the only thing you do that for are short text, but there is a format. So I want you to, on date purchased, come down here to format and then look across. There's a down arrow. You want to click that and it'll bring up various date and time formats that you can choose from. So we want to do a medium date. Make sure you do medium date and not medium time. I've had students accidentally hit the medium time one. Make sure it's medium date. Click on that, and that will put that in there. So because we're in design, we have to save our table. So we're going to go ahead and click on save. And yours should look very similar to this, except of course you would have descriptions there. So let's go ahead and close the table. And you know what? Let me open this up one more. So before we go to the next step, I want you to look at the picture on page A2-88 and compare that all of your field names are match and that the data types match. Because this next step, I'm going to go ahead and close the table. This next step where we import data from an Excel file into that table, if you have a field that is not so let me, this would be this equipment. Let me open up this Excel file, right? So this is what we're going to import. And you see how equipment ID, product name, comments. So those 3 fields are going to be imported if you have a mismatch on the name, like your field name doesn't match what's in here, it's going to give you an error. And that's probably the number one thing that happens at this point. So just make sure that your field names are correct. So we're going to import, so we're going to get external data. So you always want to go to this tab that says external data. We're going to click on that, and then it's broken into import, you're pulling it in, or export, you're sending it out to a file to be sent and used somewhere else. So we're importing, and the file that we're importing is an Excel format. You can also do other Access database, you can do other types of databases or SQL servers. You can do flat files, these are the text files. You can do an XML, which is a standard format that has a file that has the layout of this, like the structure, like our design, and then another file that has the actual data. And so this is a form that you can use to transfer between different systems. We're going to use Excel. So mine is in my downloads folder, so I need to navigate there. And it is the equipment data file -02. I'm going to open that up. So I make sure I have the right file, and now I need to decide what am I going to do. Am I going to put it as a new table, like take this data and create a new table? No. I'm going to append to an existing table, and that existing table is the equipment table. So we're going to go ahead and do OK. We have equipment, product name, and comments. That's what we want, so we're going to go ahead and do next. Import to, we're going to finish. We don't need to save, so we're going to close. And I did not get an error. If you got an error, like I said, go back and check your field. So now if I open up equipment, I have some data. I've got an equipment ID. I've got an all uppercase blue product name because that's the format that I used, right? And then we've got comments. The rest of the data is empty, right? Oops. I'm just going to do this so you guys can see everything. Oh, come on. Pick the whole thing. Double click. Okay. So, right? Good. So in your check here, you should have equipment, you should have 10 records, you should have data filled in for equipment, product name, and comments. Product name should be all uppercase and blue. If it's not, okay, I need to go back home, go back to design for product name and make sure you have this in there correctly. Okay, alrighty, so I am going to go back to datasheet view, and we want to modify the row height of the table. So we're going to select any row. Remember, we do that by going to the little selector box on the left. It's the gray box on the left. Watch for your mouse to change to a black arrow pointing to the right, and we're going to click on it. It doesn't matter which row you pick, because in Access you change one row, you change them all. We're going to right click on that, and row height is going to be 58. Okay, whoa, big, right? And that's okay, because we're gonna do some stuff that we're gonna fill some of that stuff in. We're gonna change the I have everything. Sorry, I need to change this back because I expanded it so that you guys could see the data. But we're gonna work with some of the fields now. So the first one is product name. So we're going to black down arrow in front of product name, click on it, right click, field width, and it's going to be 23, and then comments, select it, right click, field width, 26. Okay, so your other, these might be smaller. Shoot. Might be smaller just because I don't remember what they were. Okay, so for comments, what we want to do is, these are breaking in odd spots. So we're going to we're going to do a little break so the comment lines up a little better. So in this first record, 09863, I want to come over and right in front of the B in bucket, I'm going to do a Control Enter. And remember, that's like in Word when we did that. Control Enter. It's going to put that, or I'm sorry, Excel. 10015. We're going to go to the W in front of before. Let's see, 10005 in front of weight. Control Enter. And then 10103. The 6 before the 6 here. And see, I don't really like this one either. I don't know. It's not really well, I'll leave it alone. So we found it. We did a Control Enter in all of them. If you look at the picture on page 89, it should match. We're going to save it because we did change the layout. And then we're done with Excel Chapter 2, Pause and Practice 1. The next movie will be starting in Pause and Practice 2. All right, guys, thanks.